Sewanee, our very special guest, Las Cruces head football coach Mark Lopez. His Bulldogs, ranked number 2 in the state, will come to Albuquerque this Friday to take on the number 1 ranked team, the Cleveland Storm, the defending champs. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Coach, you guys are off to a great start, man. Beat Las Cruces Mayfield 61-6, which was the biggest margin of victory, and that's storied rival, man. That's storied, right? Anytime they played, Memorial Stadium, Coach Jim Bradley. I was talking to Coach Cisco from Alamogordo about Coach Bradley, who used to really love to give it to the North when he beat them. He did, loved it. So that's the biggest margin of victory ever. Volcano Vista beat them 38-20. Rio Rancho this past Saturday, you beat them 47-22. Daniel Amaro, your running back, another amazing game. He had 143 rushing yards in the first quarter. He's having averaging 172 yards per game. My son and I will talk to him later on another platform. But Rio Rancho's a tough, solid team, and and there's a call there that flipped it a little bit. Momentum changes. Those things happen. Calls, bounces, things happen like that. Tell us a little bit about your assessment so far of the Las Cruces Bulldogs.
Well, I mean, I think we've got a pretty darn good team. I think we have a lot of guys coming back. That have varsity experience. You're looking at a few years ago. We were starting 11 sophomores, and those 11 sophomores are grown up now. And so they've got a lot of experience, and they've done a good job. And so when you look at kind of eliminating our mental mistakes that we've been able to do, and kind of go through our process and do our job. We've done a pretty darn good job so far. So it's I think we've played some really good teams. I think Volcano is a darn good team as well, and Rio Rancho is obviously very, very good. And those guys are going to be in the mix at the end and in 6A. And so very, very happy with the start that we've had.
Those are convincing wins. They are. Now Mayfield is not the same team that Coach Bradley had, and Michael Bradley was there, and Mayfield back in the day was a powerhouse. They were. And still, any victory over Las Cruces Mayfield or its Cruces, that's a rivalry. You're going to enjoy it, man. That's just the way it is. But those, to me, are convincing victories. And, we've mentioned this. We've got to hype it up. It's number 1 versus number 2. You're coming down to defending champs. They beat you last year. Give us your assessment. Again, but here's the thing you and I said, though. This game doesn't mean the season's over on either side. Certainly there's a lot of hype, a lot of expectation. People, man, I wish I could stay. I'm going to be in Silver City. I cover Western, but I wish I could see that game. There's a lot of hype for it. But tell us a little bit about your, you're not going to Cleveland's. We know they're very good. They've got Jordan Hatch, Maldonado, Nunez. Their defense and physical fronts on both sides present a problem to any team. But tell us a little bit about your assessment and your expectations for Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're always very well coached. They're going to be one of the best coached teams in the state year in and year out. They do a great job up there, and they're very, very talented. They're deep, they're talented. It's always a very physical game. Every time we play them, it feels like we've played them, I think, every year for the last decade plus. And so they're very, very good. I think like you and I had talked about. You go into this week and you understand that you can't win a state championship or lose a state championship on Friday night. And so you got to kind of stay with what got you there, which is our process. We've convinced our guys, and our guys have done a great job buying in that, they got to focus on the task at hand. And that's the job that's in front of them on the next play. And they've done a very, very good job of that. We have a disciplined group that's played really well. So we get to see how they handle it on a different stage now. We go on the road. Like you said, 1 versus 2. 1 versus 2 doesn't give you any points or stops. You got to go earn that on your own. And so, we get to see kind of where our guys are and where we're at in our process. And then you got to rebound against a really good Hobbs team the next week either way. So, I think that's the idea going in this week. We know that we're playing, a really, really good team, a really, really well-coached team. And we get an opportunity to go kind of see where we're at.
For high school fans, it doesn't get any better. For the playmakers, you've got Gunnar Guardiola, the quarterback. You've got Daniel Amaro. They've got Hatch, Nunez, Maldonado. We mentioned the physical fronts that both teams have. The games are won in the trenches. We know that. And they've got very physical fronts on both sides of the ball. But, I think, as you mentioned, we know about Gunnar Guardiola. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the state, and he said in the paper that he thinks Daniel Amaro is the best running back in the state. And Daniel gave a lot of credit to his offensive line. He said, "Hey, I don't run anywhere without them." I talked to him the other night. What a very polite young man. What a respectful young man, man. I only talked to him for a few, but I liked him right away. And like I said, we'll visit with him later on tonight. But talk a little bit about your defense. I think the offensive players, they get all the shine. Right, but the game is won a lot of times. And catch Nunez. We had Jacob Maldonado on our show a couple weeks ago, and that kid can do backflips. He's a gymnast. The kid is very athletic. And then all of a sudden, Nunez, and I think he played with Daniel Amaro. They've grown up together. But talk a little bit about your defense. They need some shine too. They need some love. Talk a little bit about your D.
Yeah, absolutely. Our defense has done a great job. We've had a couple of slow starts, but we've done a great job adjusting. I think some of those slow starts have just come from excitement, to be honest. Excitement to go out and make a play. And sometimes you forget about your assignment on a play and it costs you a first down here or there. But, man, they sure have done a tremendous job settling in. They've played a really aggressive physical style of defense, and we've done a great job. Our secondary is all back, so we have 4 returning starters in the secondary, and those guys have done a really, really good job. And then, you look to the middle of our defense, which is Denton Walter, and he's our junior Mike linebacker. He was our leading tackler as our nickel back last year. And man, I can't say enough about that guy. We really think he's special in what he does. He's long, athletic, aggressive. Does a really good job for us. And then our front has really been some great job doers. We have an outstanding sophomore D end in Vaughn Romney that has made a ton of plays for us in the first few weeks. He's a basketball guy that came out. He's only in his second year of football. And, man, he has been special and explosive. And he's another guy that we really feel is going to be a special guy when it's all said and done. And, Carlos Gamboa returning on the front as a defensive lineman, he's got after it as well. So, we really feel like, we're doing a good job on that defensive end. We got a few things we need to button up. But, we're presenting a lot of different looks, and we're playing an aggressive style, and it's played well for us so far.
Well, you mentioned 19 sacks so far in the season. Denton Walter has 6, and then Gamboa, he's got 4, and pressure. Jordan Hatch, man, the guy's a good quarterback. We know that he's got playmakers. So you're going to have to bring the pressure. But you mentioned your defensive front and your secondary. They've played again. The scores they speak well for the team because Mayfield 61-6, Volcano Vista 38, and Chad Wallen has a good team out there. He runs a good program, and Nate Pino doesn't have. You know what? He beat him pretty convincingly, man. And again, you mentioned. One at a time, but it's hard not to. If you've been around, Coach, you took over from Jim Miller, and you mentioned what a influence he was on you, and I'll ask you about that in a minute. But it's hard as a fan, and the kids, not to see that and say, "Hey, man, we're going to take the champs, right?" But one at a time. I feel I get goosebumps thinking about it. I'm not even going to be there, but because I love sports. You love the hype, and the kids. There's so many good players on the field. What a treat for high school football fans on Friday night to get to see that kind of action, man. And down south, right, coming up north. Will Benjamin's always saying south. Will's my guy, man. Will's going to protect the South and say, we don't give enough love to him, and we're here trying to give some today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you always have that chip on your shoulder. I've been down here my whole career, and you always feel like you're getting overlooked or slighted or whatever. Everybody's up north, and you always carry that chip. But you're right. I think at the end of the day, the story is that there's a lot of great players on the field on Friday night, and like you said, you've been around, and I think any coach will tell you that, man. Those great players make you look really smart. And, when you have those guys that we're blessed enough to have, they make you look smart as a coach. And to have that many on both sides, us versus them, it's going to be a great atmosphere.
Yeah, and gosh, it's been a while since I've covered a game at Cleveland. And, this field on the campus, right? The cannon. That I used to have to get used to that because every time they scored, I'd jump a little bit. And but you got the atmosphere. I think anything Field of Dreams is an atmosphere. Playing at Cleveland is an atmosphere. And God, I can only imagine. I can't wait to talk to Daniel tonight because again, the butterflies, the everything I remember being like that when I played for Highland years ago. We made that Cruces swing. We played Mayfield and we played Las Cruces. Whitey Kaufman was a coach years ago. And so you get those feelings, man, and the butterflies and the things that before the game, the hype, everyone's hyping it up. James Yotis had a great article here in the Journal about, hey, it's time, number one versus number two. And again, though, like you said, they're very early in the season for this game to occur, and there's so much more. You got to turn around and play Hobbs, Oregon Mountain, Clovis, Alamogordo, Carlsbad, and Centennial. Those aren't easy games, man, although Clovis is struggling right now. And think about back in the day, you remember how powerful that team was? Man, Coach Roanhouse has a field named after him.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, you don't get those kind of – Coach, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we know you got to go at 11:55. We'll talk a little bit more about your start there at Las Cruces and your former head coach, Jim Miller, after these messages on the Sports Desk.
Waiting to snap. Here it comes. Pressure coming once again. Picked up. Gives it to Price. He's got a lane. Picks up the first down. A block. Can he get across? And he does. A little spinneroonie at the 2.
Barrett is on. Punch another one away here. That's a high end over end. Moorhead will get a chance. 20. Flags out on a little block in the back. It's going to erase a beautiful return from Moorhead, who's still on his feet. All this running is for naught because the penalty is going to bring this one back. It's a shame because Moorhead just showed you what he can do as he gets pushed out of bounds at the 4-yard line.
It is a night game at Academy, but they got the roll-in portable light. So quarterback keeper Montoya, and he's in. Touchdown Huskies. So Hope immediately.
Back set. No one there to catch it at their apex. It'll be Ashley in the middle. How else is it gonna end? Kaylin Ashley with force.
Shotgun. Snap. Gets it. Play action pass. Fires. Breaking one tackle free. Nice move. There's a block. And this is going to go to the house. Touchdown time for Aiden Erickson.
Brown. Oh, had a man through his hands, intercepted. Huge play for the Huskies, room to run. Before he's pushed out of bounds, that's Matthew Wright.
Back to the 40-yard line. As this one was tipped.
No.
It's the loose ball. No signal yet. Last time it was one play to get him at first and goal. Going deep again, has a man. Touchdown, Cougars! Dropped it in the bucket to Jeremiah Gutierrez.
Michael switches to throw. He's got Session and it's caught. Session, nothing but green grass. That's a touchdown at Trisco Heritage.
Second and 4. Wiley hands it off to Mitchell. Mitchell breaks the first tackle. He's got some room. Mitchell on his feet, and he will score. Touchdown, D'Angelo Mitchell, and the Hawks are on the board first.
Huskies with the ball, first and 6. Montoya to the left. Montoya with the speed, turns the corner. And it's a touchdown.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on our Facebook page. I'm your host, Ed Nunez. Our very special guest today, Las Cruces boys football coach, Mark Lopez. And Coach, in the first hour we talked about number 2 coming down to play number 1, the hype. And it is what it is, right? Everyone's looking forward to this game, but there is more football to be played, and you've made that quite clear. But I wanted to, ask you took over from the former head coach, Jim Miller, there, and you mentioned, I read a little bit about you, that he was one of the biggest influences on your life, along with your dad. Your dad had coached with Lou Henson. You just told me a story that had me rolling, man, about you being the ball boy at New Mexico State. But tell us a little bit about, the influence. Coach Miller was a heck of a coach, man. The influence that he had on you as a head coach.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm biased, but in my opinion, one of, if not the best all time. Coach Miller, he actually coached me in high school. He was my quarterbacks coach. When I was in high school, he came in my junior year. So I played for Coach Peter Meyer my sophomore year, and then Coach Miller came in with Coach Rizak as the head coach, and he took me under his wing then, and so I remember. Even back then, he and I would come at 6:30 in the morning to lift together. And, we get our workouts in and we'd watch film together. We'd eat lunch together and watch film together. So, all the way back then when I was in high school, we were I was being mentored by him. And then, when he got the head job, he was the defensive coordinator here under Coach Potter. And then when he got the head job, we got back together and I came on staff and, the rest is history. We spent 18 years together coaching and blessed enough to be a part of 6 state championships. But yeah, I mean, he obviously, from a football perspective alone, just really guided a ton of what we still do. I'm still in touch with him regularly. And, we hang out and able to go golfing a few times a year together. I still have his ear as far as being able to ask for any advice or anything like that. And he's really kind of set my path. There's really not anybody from a coaching perspective that has influenced me more, and I feel really fortunate for that.
Does he still attend the games, or does he watch them, or does he?
He comes when he can. He's got grandkids all over now. So I mean, he's traveling and he's headed to Phoenix and everywhere else. And so I know that he's watching when he can. And then of course Cam Miller, is his son, and he lives in Phoenix now. And so Cam will send me messages, Coach will send me messages, and words of encouragement and stuff. So I know they're watching even when they can't be there physically.
Oh yeah, that's a great connection that you still have, and you mentioned the respect. I read that the respect you have for Coach Miller and the people that helped you along the way to become. And you're a true Aggie, man. You grew up there. You coached elementary school there. A true Aggie. Coached. You played baseball, basketball, and football. And you mentioned that football was Friday Night Lights was your thing. And a 3-sport Letterman. Tell us a little bit about your dad. You mentioned we talked about it off air, but your dad actually worked for Coach Henson, the Aggie legend, man. Although when I used to see him, I didn't hate Lou Henson, right? Now
you can't hate Coach Henson, man. You have to have something wrong with it if you hate that.
No way. Weldon Drew, none of those guys. Now Neil McCarthy, I used to tell Coach Benjamin, that's a different story. They came in here, swept the Lobos one time, and that guy was letting the whole press row know. And they were good. They were good. But tell us a little bit about your dad and working with Coach Henson, who was a beautiful man, coach at Illinois, Hardin Simmons. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. My dad, of course, my other huge influence in coaching, and he came up with Coach Henson, so he played and he won a state championship with Coach Henson as the head coach here at Las Cruces High School in 1959. And so I always tell everybody, man, I was a Bulldog before I was even born, and so and then he went with Coach Henson and ended up my dad went to play college ball for a minute and then stopped that and went to coach at Hardin Simmons with Coach Henson, which is where he met my mom. And then he came back to New Mexico State, and he was the athletic director when Coach Henson, was the head coach as well. And so, assistant athletic director when Coach Henson was the coach. And so, yeah, we have a really long history with the Hansons, and I remember even I had just started coaching, and I was in my second year coaching, and my brother was graduating. Of course, I got a chance to coach my brother in high school and won a couple state championships here as well as a quarterback. And Coach Henson pulled me aside at my brother's graduation party, and I'll never forget it. And it still applies to this day. And he says, now, Mark, he goes, I just want you to remember this. He goes, it's a lot more about the Jimmies and Joes than the X's and O's. And at that time, I couldn't really appreciate what he said because I thought I was pretty darn good, and it's all about the coaching and this and that. But as I said earlier, those players will make you look smart in a hurry, and they'll make you look dumb in a hurry. And so what he said probably pertains to me more now than it did even back then. So yeah, that Coach Henson influence still runs deep in our family.
Think about that. You mentioned your dad had a deep influence on you as well. Your dad did. Coach Henson, Coach Miller, those are some great role models there. You mentioned that, and Coach Henson, leaving for a while to coach at Illinois and did great there, and then came back to coach the Aggies when they needed him. Coached at Las Cruces High School, man, and I remember the Lobo Aggie rivalry very well. But like you said, you couldn't get mad at Coach. I couldn't get mad at Coach Henson. He's a class act, man. And I wanted the Lobos to win, but I never looked at him like, okay, get him. Just got a couple more questions and we'll wrap it up for you. We mentioned Daniel Amaro, but you have, I think, one of the best quarterbacks in the state in Gunnar Guardiola. Tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, man, I can't say enough about that guy. I tell you what, he's as high level as anybody that we've coached. I've been here for 28 years, and I can tell you one thing: nobody's ever prepared more than Gunnar does. Week in and week out, that guy will turn in a 6-7 page scouting report every week. On his own.
Oh, really?
And he comes in every day at lunch. He goes and sits in his one spot in the film room, and he watches film on his own. He prepares at an incredibly high level. It's amazing to see. And so he's got a special gift, his arm and his intelligence. And I tell you what, he can make any throw on the field. He puts us in right sets a ton. He sees things out there. Like I said, I can't say enough about the guy, and that's, he's kind of representation of our group as well, because I think, for us, it just kind of starts with the character of this group. We have such high character leaders. It's just so great to be around. So, really, really blessed to have guys like Gunnar and Danny and Cisco and a lot of these guys, man, on this team. They just make it enjoyable to be around every day.
Coach, you mentioned he does a lot of scouting. I wonder if the scouting report this week will be 8 or 9 pages. What a smart kid, does it on his own. You don't even have to encourage him. Coach, we know you got to get to film study. Coach Mark Lopez, Las Cruces head football coach, we wish you the best of luck Friday. Number 2, Las Cruces comes up to play number 1, Cleveland. We wish you the best of luck.
I appreciate it, Ed. Take care, buddy.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. That was a lot of fun. We'd have to do it again. For
that
producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.
Eagle Greens and Turf are a family-owned and operated business with over 25 years of experience in the home improvement industry. They are your exclusive dealer of celebrity green, synthetic putting greens, and artificial turf. They also have artificial turf that is specifically designed for your pets. Eagle Greens and Turf are proud sponsors of ProView Networks and can make your lawn green all year long at 505-273-2744. Granite Passion are proud supporters of ProView Sports. They're located at 1309 12th Street Northwest. They're your one-stop shop for granite, quartzite marble, quartz, and install. Most jobs are completed in a single day. Give them a call at 505-242-1007. That's 505-242-1007. Burrito Express is proud to announce that we are the official burrito spot of ProView Networks. Since 1982, with 6 locations serving Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, and Roswell, the question is, red or green? Let's go to the burrito. Visit letsgototheburrito.com and order now.
Hi folks, Marley Fletcher here, owner of Santa Fe Kia. You know, at Santa Fe Kia, we like the byline of Santa Fe Kia is where we treat you different. Some reasons why. I'm remodeling our facility to make it better for our customers. Our salespeople treat people with respect and the way they'd like to come and purchase a vehicle. That's why at Santa Fe Kia, it's where we treat you different.
Raising Cane's invites you to grab life by the chicken fingers. So get out there. Be you. Do you. Embrace whatever makes you, you. All while enjoying Raising Cane's hand-battered cooked-to-order chicken fingers, crispy crinkle-cut fries, buttery Texas toast, and that secret recipe cane sauce that makes everything that much better. So go on. Savor the day.
Raising Cane's chicken fingers. One love.
Hi, my name is David Nieto. I'm the owner of Black & Silver Services. We are an HVAC contractor here in Albuquerque, and we're a proud supporter of ProView Networks. And we do sponsor a lot of kids here in Albuquerque locally, and we're hoping for a great season. And if you guys are interested for a free HVAC quote, you can call us